What if everything Meghan has worked to build in America is suddenly facing its biggest test yet? For years, Meghan appeared determined to create a brand new life far away from royal traditions, royal rules, and royal expectations. She wanted independence. She wanted influence. And most importantly, she wanted to prove that she could succeed on her own terms. But now, critics, commentators, and even some former supporters are asking a shocking question. Is Meghan's American dream starting to unravel? From growing public backlash to endless media scrutiny, every new headline seems to spark another wave of controversy. Social media is flooded with debates. Supporters are rushing to defend her. Critics claim the warning signs have been there all along. And the pressure surrounding Meghan's public image may be greater than ever before. The internet is buzzing with speculation that major challenges could be threatening the future of projects that were once expected to redefine her post-royal career. Whether those fears are justified or wildly exaggerated depends on who you ask. But one thing is impossible to ignore. The conversation around Meghan has reached a boiling point. How did one of the most talked about women in the world end up at the center of yet another storm? Why are so many people suddenly questioning the future of her American ambitions? And what developments have everyone watching so closely? Stay with us, because the story behind the headlines is far more dramatic than most people realize. To understand why so many people are suddenly talking about Meghan's future, we have to go back to the moment she and Prince Harry made the decision that changed everything. When the couple stepped away from their royal duties, it wasn't just a personal decision. It became one of the biggest stories in the world. Headlines exploded across continents. Television networks devoted endless hours to analyzing what would happen next. Supporters called it a brave move toward independence. Critics called it a risky gamble that could either end in extraordinary success or spectacular failure. At first, the future seemed full of possibilities. America represented a fresh start, a blank canvas, an opportunity to build something entirely new outside the shadow of the monarchy. Every move they made attracted attention. Every project generated headlines. Every public appearance sparked intense discussion. For a while, it seemed as though Meghan and Harry had mastered the art of staying at the center of the global conversation. But fame is a double-edged sword. The same spotlight that creates opportunities can also magnify every setback. As the years passed, expectations grew higher and higher. Every new venture was expected to be bigger than the last. Every announcement was analyzed in microscopic detail. Every public statement became a source of controversy. The pressure was relentless. Commentators began noticing that public reactions were becoming increasingly divided. Some audiences remained fiercely supportive, while others became more skeptical with each passing year. Online discussions grew more intense. Media coverage became more aggressive. And every project seemed to carry enormous expectations. Then came a series of challenges that fueled even more debate. Whenever a new initiative launched, supporters viewed it as evidence that Meghan was successfully building her own path. Critics, however, questioned whether the results matched the enormous hype surrounding her brand. The disagreements became impossible to ignore. Suddenly, conversations about Meghan were no longer focused solely on what she was creating. Instead, many debates centered on whether her vision for life in America was living up to the expectations that had been set years earlier. And that is where things became complicated. Because once public expectations reach a certain level, anything short of overwhelming success can be portrayed as disappointment. The scrutiny intensified. Every headline seemed louder. Every criticism appeared harsher. Every challenge became a major news story. And behind the scenes, observers started wondering whether the pressure surrounding Meghan's public image had reached a point where even small setbacks could trigger much larger consequences. What happened next would only add fuel to an already raging fire, and the reaction that followed shocked even some of her most loyal supporters. The situation escalated when a growing number of commentators began questioning whether Meghan's carefully crafted American image was facing its toughest challenge yet. Almost overnight, criticism seemed to be coming from every direction. Every interview was dissected. Every public appearance was analyzed. Every business move became the subject of intense debate. And as the scrutiny increased, so did the pressure. What made the situation even more difficult was the fact that expectations surrounding Meghan had become enormous. She was no longer being compared to celebrities launching new projects. She was being compared to the image of success that many people believed she had promised when she left royal life behind. That created a problem. Because when expectations reach extraordinary levels, even ordinary setbacks can appear catastrophic. Suddenly, critics were arguing that Meghan's brand was struggling to maintain the momentum it once enjoyed. Social media discussions became increasingly heated. Comment sections exploded with arguments. Supporters and critics battled each other across countless platforms. The online war was becoming impossible to ignore. Some supporters insisted that Meghan was being judged unfairly and held to standards that few public figures could ever meet. Critics disagreed. They claimed that years of massive publicity had created expectations that were now coming back to haunt her. The debate grew louder with every passing week. Then came a series of headlines that intensified the conversation even further. News outlets, commentators, and royal observers all seemed to have their own theories about what was happening behind the scenes. Some claimed Meghan was facing a temporary rough patch. Others argued that the challenges were far more serious than anyone realized. Speculation spread rapidly. Rumors multiplied. Questions began circulating everywhere. Was this simply another controversy that would eventually fade away? Or was it evidence of something much bigger? The uncertainty fueled even more discussion. Meanwhile, every new development appeared to trigger another wave of criticism and analysis. What might have been considered a minor issue for another celebrity suddenly became front-page news when Meghan's name was attached to it. The pressure kept building. Observers noticed that the public conversation was becoming less about individual projects and more about a broader question. Was Meghan's long-term vision for success in America facing unexpected obstacles? That question quickly became the center of the entire debate. Because if the answer was yes, the implications could be enormous. The stakes had never felt higher. And just when it seemed the controversy couldn't grow any larger, a new wave of reactions began pouring in from media personalities, royal experts, and social media users around the world. What they had to say would push the story into an entirely new phase, and the backlash that followed caught everyone by surprise. If the criticism surrounding Meghan had already reached an intense level, what happened next took the entire situation to another level. The conversation was no longer confined to a handful of commentators or social media users. It was everywhere. Television panels debated it. Royal watchers discussed it. Entertainment outlets covered it. And social media seemed incapable of talking about anything else. Every day brought a new headline. Every headline sparked a new argument. And every argument seemed to attract millions of views. The pressure surrounding Meghan's public image was growing at a pace few people could have predicted. What made the situation especially difficult was the growing perception that every move she made was being viewed through a different lens than before. Supporters saw determination. Critics saw damage control. Supporters saw resilience. Critics saw desperation. The divide between the two sides appeared wider than ever. As the debate intensified, online discussions became increasingly emotional. Some people argued that Meghan remained one of the most influential public figures in the world and that the criticism was being exaggerated by her opponents. Others claimed that the challenges she was facing were impossible to dismiss and represented a serious threat to her long-term ambitions. Neither side was willing to back down. The result was a non-stop cycle of controversy. Every public appearance generated headlines. Every statement became a talking point. Every rumor created fresh speculation. The intensity was staggering. Then something unexpected happened. A growing number of previously neutral observers began joining the conversation. These were not people who spent years following royal drama. They were casual viewers, casual readers, casual observers. Yet even they started asking questions about whether Meghan was facing one of the most difficult periods of her public life. That shift caught the attention of many analysts. Because when a controversy expands beyond its core audience, it often becomes much larger than anyone anticipated. The story was no longer being driven solely by dedicated supporters or dedicated critics. It had entered mainstream discussion. And once that happened, the spotlight became even brighter. Meanwhile, every new article, every new opinion piece, and every new social media trend seemed to amplify the pressure. The narrative was evolving rapidly. What began as scattered criticism had transformed into a full-scale debate about Meghan's future. No one seemed able to agree on what would happen next. Some predicted she would overcome the controversy and emerge stronger than ever. Others believed the damage could take years to repair. But regardless of which side people supported, almost everyone agreed on one thing. The situation had become impossible to ignore. And the reactions that were about to emerge from both supporters and critics would push the drama to an entirely new level. As the controversy continued to dominate headlines, reactions began pouring in from every corner of the internet. And the response was nothing short of explosive. Social media platforms became battlefields. Supporters rushed to defend Meghan, arguing that she was facing a level of scrutiny that few public figures could withstand. They pointed to years of intense media attention and claimed that every setback was being unfairly magnified. According to them, the criticism wasn't proof of failure. It was proof of how closely the world continued to watch her every move. But critics saw the situation very differently. They argued that public figures who build massive brands around their image inevitably face tough questions when expectations aren't met. In their view, the growing criticism reflected genuine public frustration rather than unfair treatment. The clash between the two sides became increasingly intense. Posts defending Meghan went viral. Posts criticizing Meghan went viral. Videos analyzing her future accumulated millions of views. Comment sections filled with arguments. The debate seemed endless. Meanwhile, media personalities and royal commentators added even more fuel to the fire. Every new opinion created another wave of discussion. Every prediction sparked another argument. Every headline generated thousands of reactions. The story had become far bigger than any single event. It was now a symbol of a larger debate about celebrity, influence, public expectations, and the challenges of maintaining a global brand under constant scrutiny. What surprised many observers was how emotional the conversation had become. People weren't simply discussing projects or business decisions. They were discussing Meghan herself, her reputation, her future, her legacy, and that made the stakes feel significantly higher. The attention surrounding the story continued to grow. Search trends surged. Discussion forums exploded. Reaction videos multiplied. For supporters, this was another example of Meghan surviving relentless criticism. For critics, it was evidence that serious challenges could no longer be ignored. The divide remained as sharp as ever. Yet beneath all the arguments, one reality was becoming increasingly clear. The public fascination with Meghan had not disappeared. If anything, it had intensified. And that meant the next chapter of this story could be even more dramatic than the last. Because while everyone was busy debating the present, a new twist was quietly emerging in the background. A twist that had the potential to completely change how people viewed the entire situation. And when details of that possibility started circulating, even long-time observers were left stunned. Just when it seemed that the debate surrounding Meghan had reached its peak, an unexpected question began emerging behind the scenes. What if this entire controversy wasn't the end of her American dream? What if it was actually the beginning of a completely new chapter? That possibility caught many observers off guard. For months, discussions had focused almost entirely on criticism, backlash, and mounting pressure. Headlines centered on challenges. Commentators analyzed setbacks. Social media amplified every controversy. But beneath all of that noise, something interesting was happening. Despite the criticism, people were still talking about Meghan. Constantly. Every article generated attention. Every appearance sparked discussion. Every rumor created headlines. And in today's media landscape, attention remains one of the most valuable currencies in the world. That realization led some analysts to a surprising conclusion. While critics viewed the controversy as evidence of decline, others argued that Meghan's ability to remain at the center of global conversations demonstrated something entirely different. Influence. Whether people supported her or opposed her, they continued to watch. They continued to react. And they continued to engage. That created a fascinating dilemma. Because public attention can be unpredictable. A controversy that appears damaging today can sometimes become the foundation for a major comeback tomorrow. History is filled with public figures who were declared finished, only to return stronger than anyone expected. Could Meghan do the same? Nobody knows. And that uncertainty is exactly why the story continues to captivate millions of people around the world. At this moment, Meghan stands at a crossroads. One path leads to continued criticism, growing challenges, and even greater scrutiny. The other leads to reinvention, recovery, and the possibility of surprising everyone once again. The truth is that nobody can predict which direction events will take. Not commentators, not critics, not supporters, and perhaps not even Meghan herself. What makes this story so fascinating is that it remains unfinished. The next headline could change everything. The next project could silence critics. Or the next controversy could intensify the debate even further. For now, the world continues to watch, waiting, speculating, and wondering whether Meghan's American dream is truly collapsing, or whether the biggest twist is still waiting just around the corner. So what do you think? Is Meghan truly facing the biggest challenge of her post-royal life? Or is this just another chapter in a story that has been surrounded by controversy from the very beginning? That's the question millions of people are debating right now. Some believe the criticism surrounding Meghan has reached a level that could seriously impact her future ambitions. Others believe she has faced enormous pressure before and will once again find a way to prove her critics wrong. No matter where you stand, one thing is impossible to deny. The conversation surrounding Meghan remains one of the most talked about stories in the world. Every headline creates new reactions. Every development sparks new debates. And every twist keeps people coming back to see what happens next. Now we want to hear from you. Do you think Meghan's American dream is actually collapsing? Do you think the media is being unfair? Or do you believe the challenges she faces today are the result of expectations that became impossible to meet? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion could become part of the next big discussion. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into one of the most fascinating stories dominating headlines, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss another major update. Because the drama surrounding Meghan, Prince Harry, and the future of their public image is far from over. New developments are always emerging. New questions are always being asked. And the next chapter could arrive when nobody expects it. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned. Because if recent events have proven anything, it's that this story still has plenty of surprises left, and the biggest one may be yet to come.